a picture on the second portion. It might be the second page for that next activity, like the labeling.
Okay.
I wonder if it's
Let me share my screen. So I found that the recordings are somehow saving to my computer now, and I can't get them to save to the cloud, even though I went to Zoom and I tried to update the settings to save to the cloud. The problem with that is that trying to upload the recordings from my computer to Moodle doesn't work because Moodle only accepts a certain size file, and the files are too big. So I have to figure out a workaround. Okay, lab, tissues, and integers. So here's a document, and you're talking about this picture. So what I want you to do in this part is to actually draw a picture. Does that answer your question or no?
Sorry, were you asking me something? I had to take a call really quickly.
So yeah, that's fine. So this is the document, right? The tissues and the integument. And on this page, I want you to actually draw a picture of the skin. Is that what you were asking about?
I'm gonna pull up mine and just see where I was looking. Maybe I read it wrong. I thought it said label cell types or other structures. Part 2. Yeah, part 2. You want us to draw that? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it says look at a picture. Sorry, I read it as look at the picture.
Yeah, and then draw and label the layers.
Got it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I will go back to this screen. So first thing that I need to do is figure out how to get some of those recordings up. So I have them now. I'm figuring that they're on my computer, and the only option it's giving me for recording is to record to my computer. And I went to Zoom before this call, and I went to the settings, and I, toggled back and forth between the setting that allows me to record to the cloud. Like I shut it off, and then I turn it back on, and it's still not giving me that option. It used to, earlier in the semester, when I would hit record, it would, you want to record it to the cloud or to your computer, and I would always say to the cloud. Now it's not letting me do that. The problem is now I see where the files are now, but I can't upload them to Moodle because they're too big. So I think what I have to do, I had to do this workaround for another school with a similar problem. And I think what I have to do is somehow upload them to YouTube and then post links to the YouTube. I think that's the workaround. But if anybody has any input on how to do that, I would welcome somebody's insight.
I think you have to create a YouTube channel. Have you done that before?
Yeah, that's what I did previously for, I think I was Capital Community College. I think I had done that a couple of times. So I have a YouTube channel. So I think you're right. I think I have to upload it to that and then share that link through Moodle, my YouTube channel.
As far as I know, the only part is like how your settings are set up with who you want it shared with, if it's like a channel you use for other things, but that's probably pretty straightforward.
Right. So it shouldn't be too bad. It might take me another few hours to figure out how to do that, to remember how to do it. But it's not too bad. So I apologize. The last couple of Thursdays are not up there, and it's because when I went to look for them, they weren't in the place that they were previously. And so now they should be there, and that shouldn't be a problem. Okay.
So since you're able to do it to begin with, is it like you can only have so many on Moodle? Like, would you have to erase the other ones that you have on there and then you could?
No, the other ones are fine because they're links. So originally it was saving the recordings to like a cloud in the sky somewhere, and I was just posting a link. So that really doesn't take up any space in
Oh, okay.
Moodle, which is what I would like to continue doing. If I can, that would be the best situation if I can figure out how to continue doing that. But I looked in Zoom and I could not see where to do it. I went to the settings and the different recording settings and everything else, and I couldn't find a reason that it was not recording to the cloud anymore. So that would be the best solution. So other than that, we're okay though. So what kind of questions do you guys have for me? We went through a lot of PowerPoints. We went through the skin and the tissues. What kind of questions do you have for me now that maybe you've thought about it a little bit more? Anything? Okay. Let me share my screen.
So is the order when we're talking about this tissue, is it always like name-wise, classification, shape, and then type of tissue every time?
So the only ones that are classified on their shape are the epithelial tissues.
Mm-hmm.
So the epithelial tissues are always named with 2 words. The first word is always either simple or stratified.
Mm-hmm.
And the second word is always either squamous, cuboidal, or columnar. All the other tissue types are just characterized by, the actual tissue name. So those are the only ones that are characterized with the shapes. Does that answer your question? I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I think so. Well, and also at the end, just speaking of epithelial, it'll always have that part epithelial being like the type of tissue at the very end. It'll never be in the front, or they'll always be
Right,
simply
it'll be,
stratified first.
simple squamous epithelial or stratified cuboidal epithelial. Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
So the syllabus. Trying to make sure that we stay on track. So this week we went over tissue and integument, and you have a lab on tissue and integument. What I want to do is post an exam, another exam, for chapters 3 and 4. My thought is to post it on like Sunday and to have you guys do it before Thursday's class. What are your thoughts on that? Should I wait till Thursday? Should I wait till you guys have some more questions? I just don't want to start getting behind on anything. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I think posting it the sooner the better, I guess.
Okay. What about other people?
River, do you mean posting it sooner and then like having the same due date, though, just having it available? Because I agree with that too.
Yeah, yeah, just more flexibility on being able to access it sooner, but not necessarily have it due very.
Okay. So is the due date of like next Wednesday at midnight, is that okay?
Mhm.
That feels fine to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so posting it like Saturday morning or something so that you have all weekend, like some people have more time on the weekends to do it, or posting it even tomorrow. You're saying this, that's what you meant by the sooner the better?
Yeah.
The sooner I can post it. Okay, that makes sense. So it'll give you guys more flexibility, give you guys a week to do it. Okay. And even with doing the lab that we're going to go over here in a few minutes, which isn't that much. It's looking at cell types and drawing them. Even with that due this week, you feel like that's okay. That's a decent amount of work, but that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think I kind of expect in this kind of class that it's just going to be like crazy all the time. And I think
Okay.
I'd rather access the test earlier so that I can start on the work for next week sooner.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Okay. Well, let me just go over the lab that I just uploaded earlier today. Like I said, it's not that that entailed. All right. So we go up to the first part, part 1. What you are going to do is complete this table, right? So I've given you a tissue type. So for example, the first one is simple squamous epithelial. You have to give me a location and a function of that tissue, right? So you can use any sources you want. You can use your textbook, you can use the PowerPoints, you can use the recordings, you can use Google, anything you want. You have to name a location and a function for each of those tissues. Now, obviously, there are multiple locations for all of these tissues. You only have to name one. You don't have to name, I get it. If you put one, there's probably 5 others that you can name too. So when I correct this next week, I'll make sure that I'm looking at the locations and making sure that that's one of the locations where it can be found. Okay, so that's the whole first page. The next page is actually drawing the tissues. So again, there's some blank spaces in there because I got rid of some of the ones that were there. But drawing simple squamous, simple cuboidal, simple columnar. Again, Google or the PowerPoints might be your best resources for this. Google image searches will certainly have a lot for you. Please do draw it. So don't just copy and paste an image in there from Google Images. You get more out of drawing it. I don't care that maybe some of you are not good artists, and that's fine. But drawing it by hand will actually make you understand where it is a little bit better and make you remember it. So if you want, you can print this out, or you can just take another piece of notebook paper and write simple squamous epithelia and draw it, and simple cuboidal epithelial and draw that. And you can always just take a picture of that. So if you don't have access to a scanner, just take a picture with your phone and save that. You can save it to your phone, you can email it to yourself or something like that, and upload that file when you upload this one. So I've allowed for multiple files to be uploaded when you submit this homework, so that you can do that. You might have multiple files because you might have some pictures that you've done with your phone of the drawing, so that you can upload those drawings. And then part 2 is all about the integument, right? The first thing we went through was all the tissues. The next part is the integument. So right here in this big blank area, you are going to draw again. You are going to draw and label layers of skin. So draw kind of a cross section of the skin like we had in class that we were talking about yesterday. Include the epidermis, the dermis, and the hypodermis. So label those 3 regions. Label the corneum layer and where about keratinization takes place in the basal layer of the epidermis, right? So it's not going to be perfect, but you can draw some arrows and say, well, that layer is here, right? You can point to that. And then again, you are going to complete the following table. So the following table is for the skin, the epidermis, the dermis, the hypodermis. You have to name what tissue types are found there, right? And then what the functions are. So all of that's pretty simple. I mean, that's gonna help you study. I don't think it's anything that's going to take a ton of time. Drawings might take some time depending on what you're drawing and how detailed you're doing them. And then what I want you to do is research these questions. Choose 2 tissue types and describe symptoms of an autoimmune disease that attacks those tissues. If it's an identified disease, you can name the disease. So you can pick any 2 tissue types. right? We talked about a bunch of them. We talked about probably 20 different tissue types. Pick any two and describe the symptoms that would occur if there were an autoimmune disease attacking that tissue type. Now, if this is a real disease and it's identified, go ahead and name it, right? But this is just hypothetical, right? You could just pick any tissue type and say, well, if my immune system attacked that disease, attacked that tissue, here's what would happen, right? This is why. This is what that tissue does. And if my immune system attacked it, I would no longer be able to do A, B, and C. And then the second question, describe the pathway for vitamin D synthesis and the role of vitamin D in calcium absorption. So I want you to begin to understand, we're beginning to put together some of these things, right? Begin with the sun penetrating the epidermis, and a list of numbered steps is fine. So you don't have to do this in like a paragraph format. You could do a bullet list, you know, starting with, okay, the sun hits the cells in my epidermis and this happens. And then this happens next, this happens next. You know, you don't have to write a full-fledged paragraph. You can do bullet lists, that's fine. Number 3, explain what happens when you get a suntan. And be specific in the role of melanocytes and the basal layer. So tell what's going to happen when UV light hits those melanocytes. What do they do? Why do you see a suntan? Why does it go away after a while? Right? It doesn't matter. Like I said, it doesn't matter if you have light skin or dark skin. Everybody experiences the same thing when their skin cells are exposed to ultraviolet light. So that is the lab, right? The lab is, again, just a take-home lab again this week. Labs are meant to improve your understanding of what we're doing in class. I noticed some of you said last week, can't wait until we get to like lab 7. Me too. I'm excited to get to some of these dissections. I think they're really cool and really fun. And I would much rather be, you know, showing you, standing here in front of you with a camera saying, okay, you know, here's this part of the brain and name this, name that. I think that's much more interesting. And like I said, when I do that, I'll probably have my daughter with me to help me do that. Hopefully I can get this whole recording and streaming thing figured out by then, so that you can play these several times if you need to use my dissection as a guide, right, as a study tool while you're doing your own dissection. That, you know, you'll need to access those recordings. So I'm excited to get to those, but we still have a few more labs, or we still have a few more classes before we get there. What I want to do this week, and based on your suggestions, is I will post the exam tomorrow, right? And that way that'll give you anywhere from when I post it tomorrow up until Wednesday night to finish the exam. It will be the same exact format as the one you just took, right? It might be, I mean, it might be a different number of questions, but not by much. So it'll be multiple choice with a short answer at the end, and you know, just be prepared for that. So what kind of questions do you have for me? Anyone? Everybody's quiet.
So I do have a question.
Sure.
So the last, I think it was the last homework,
Yep.
maybe, but it was up on Pearson. The last quizzes that we went through on Pearson,
Okay.
I still can't see like what I did wrong as far as like we went through, we did all the questions, and then there's like 2 attempts to do those, and I still can't
Yep.
go back in and see which questions I answered wrong.
Okay. Did it allow you to do 2 attempts?
Yes.
Or was that you that had that question or that issue before, or was it somebody else? Somebody
No.
else may have had that issue.
Yeah.
Okay. Are other people able to see their answers on Pearson, or are you all having that problem?
I can't see mine.
That's yours. Okay. So let's just go to Pearson together and see what happens. See if I can find that setting. Just making sure I don't hit anybody's actual name so nobody's grades come up. So cell biology, you guys took this already. Okay. Students to take 2 times. Show assignment score to student after assignment. There we go. If students answer incorrectly, show correct answer after assignment due date. All right, so I just clicked that. You should be able to see that now. Oh, I'm going to allow you to print too. Well, I want to allow you to print after your due date. All right, now I just need to update that in one other course.
Was the exam graded like so many out of 60? Is that how it was graded?
Yes, and I
Okay.
can't get Moodle to give me a percentage in the grade
Well, I
column.
looked at it and panicked for a second because I saw like the
Yeah,
50,
I got a
whatever
50
it
on the
was.
exam. What the? Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that question because I
Yeah.
wanted to cry when I
didn't
saw
want
my
to ask
score.
it because I kind of felt dumb, but okay. I'm glad
Okay,
I-
good to know.
Well, that's good then. It's a much better grade.
So yeah, so take whatever your score was, divide it by 60, multiply by 100.
Okay,
That's your percentage.
I'll take it.
I haven't found in Moodle yet where it will allow me to show the grades as percentages. And so since the test was 50 multiple choice, they were each worth a point, and then the one essay question was worth 10 points.
Well, that's why at
That was
first I thought it was the test, and then the 60 was like the essay question or something. So
Oh,
at
right.
first I thought I got like a 50 something, and then a 60 on the essay. I was like, oh no.
No,
Good.
sorry
That's
about
great
that.
news. No,
Yeah.
thank you.
So I should now, the settings should be all set in Pearson. So let me exit out of this. And if you could go into Pearson on your end and see if you're able to see the correct answers, maybe just by checking that one box, I was able to fix that. That would be nice to fix one thing today. Would be good.
Yeah, I think it's all set now.
Okay, cool.
They just mentioned the exam, so I didn't realize the exam was graded, so I ended up going in and trying to look at that now too.
Okay.
When I go into Moodle, I'm not seeing a grades tab anywhere. I couldn't find it anywhere I looked. I can see the exam that we took because that was in Moodle, but like the place where you're uploading the other grades from Pearson, I can't find that anywhere.
When you scroll over in the grades, you don't see like quiz 1, quiz 2.
No, I clicked on quizzes and actually, I'm just going to see what I find for quizzes again. I can't remember on that one. But I looked through. Yeah, when I go to quizzes, the only thing that's there is exam 1 for me.
How about, is there another category that you can see?
There's assignments. It's in the activities block on the right. Assignments, I tried to, that has just the labs,
Okay.
which is good because I'm seeing, let's see. What am I seeing for those?
I don't think I can really, oh, I can look without putting you guys over there.
And then I have external tools, forums, resources, but none of those would have it. So I just wanted you to know, I don't know if anyone else is like not finding their grades tab.
I think I just clicked on the left side where it said whatever chapter quiz or whatever chapter, like once you click on that, I think it brings you to the grid. I
Are
can't
you in,
remember.
are you in Pearson or Moodle?
No, Moodle.
See, in my Moodle, it said under the quizzes, I have intro to anatomy quiz and all the grades, and intro to chemistry quiz and all the grades. And then under homework, I had the same thing. I have intro to anatomy and chemistry and the grades. So I didn't put the third one in there yet, but in my Moodle, I see them all. That's why I don't know exactly what to do. Let me see if I can go to setup. Maybe there's something different I can do. I know you guys can't see what I'm doing because I don't want you to just see everybody's grades.
Maybe there's a setting. And if not, it's
Right.
not the end of the world because I can see them in Pearson, but I just wanted you to know that I can't see a grade tab.
Yeah, absolutely. But other people are saying they can see them?
Well, you can also go, if you're in Moodle and you go to the top right where your name is, and then if you have there's a little circle for your profile picture.
Oh,
If
right,
you
there's,
click on that, it brings a drop down and you can go to your grades from there, and it brings up the whole list of everything that's due and what's been graded so far.
okay, I'm looking at that. Thank you, I forgot about that tab. And okay, I think there is more in here, so I might be able to see it that way. Is that how other people are seeing it too?
That's what I'm using for all my classes to go. I'm using that on the top right to go down to the grades for each individual class that I have.
Okay, so that's how I think it's all here. I'll have to look through, but I do see more than I was seeing through the other way. So that's good.
Okay, so that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still not used to the Moodle gradebook. I'm more used to Canvas and Blackboard, and so I don't know. I still have trouble with the Moodle gradebook. I've been assured by another professor there that I've set it up correctly, even though some of the grades, the way I see them, they show up as like people having 1,000 points, and I don't understand that at all. Because I set categories and I set weights, you know, this category is 15%, this one's 10%. And he said it's an artifact of the fact that I have like a dropped quiz in each category. I don't know. He said it'll straighten out once I get a few more grades in there. But I'm still waiting to see that happens.
Yeah, one thing I did notice with this Moodle and looking at the grades this way, it does have some of the grades, but when you go all the way to the bottom, it does have it at a weighted mean of like 1,000, but there's no general grade so far for everything that's been done and submitted overall.
For this class.
Right now it's still like empty. Yeah, so for right now, it's just still, the calculated weight for the grade is still empty, and the grade itself is at 1,000, and then it shows that the range is still, it says 0 to 100 for the range, but then there's no, like, it says like contribution to the course total, but there's no percentage listed in there. So I don't actually know like what I have. Like I can see what I've got for individual grades on individual assignments,
Right.
but I'd have to do the math myself in order to figure out what my my grade for the class is right now.
Right, and that's something that I was trying to avoid by putting in the correct percentages and everything. That's why I don't understand why it comes up 1,000. But I've been told because that one of the reasons it does that is that I set it up so that it would drop the lowest grade, like in each category. And so because you only have like 2 grades in each category, that it does something weird. It does some weird calculation. So let's see what happens with over the next week when I put in a couple more grades. Let's see if that comes into a normal range. Like you said, the range says 0 to 100, and then it says your score is 1,000, which doesn't make any sense.
Well, and there's a line in there too. I don't know how this plays into it, but there's like, if under the homework, if I'm looking at that, there's a intro anatomy homework line, then there's a chemistry homework line, and then below that it says homework total, and then it's a simple weighted mean of grades, drop one lowest value. So then it's like 50% in there, and then it's grade like 1,000, and then it says 0 to 100 in there too. So it's,
Yeah. It still doesn't make
It's
any
taken
sense to
here.
me though. If you drop the lowest one, how can that raise you up to 1,000? I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me, but I don't know. But we have to keep monitoring that. Like I said, I have been in touch with somebody, and I keep saying, "Are you sure this looks okay?" And he's assured me that it is. So we're going to keep going with it for the next couple of weeks, and then if it still looks that way, we need to adjust something. But at least you can see, hopefully you can at least see your individual grades, and that'll give you some idea of how you're doing. All right, any other questions?
I have a question about the lab.
Yeah.
The connective tissue one is listed as white fibrous.
Mhm.
Is that the same as fibrocartilage?
No, white fibrous connective tissue is dense regular connective tissue.
Okay.
White fibrous is usually what you would find in a tendon, and so that's dense regular.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Other questions? Okay, so today I will enter some of those other grades in there. I will get your test up and loaded into Moodle, and I will figure out how to upload these recordings so that I can just put a link in Moodle so that you can see the recordings if you need to. So those are my tasks for today. You guys definitely email me if you have any questions, and we can meet up one-on-one if you have any questions. And I guess if I don't talk to you, have a great weekend.
Can I have just one clarification?
Sure.
So homework is due when?
So homework
Tuesday
is
night?
the homework on Pearson.
It's
Is that
due
what you mean?
tonight.
The lab, sorry, the lab. I'm sorry.
The lab is due next Wednesday night, so before the next class.
Okay.
But the homework
And then
on
the
Pearson
exam
is due before that.
tonight.
Tonight,
Yeah.
I believe.
Tonight.
Right.
Yeah, tonight. And then exam due Wednesday.
Right. The exam will be due Wednesday.
And then the quiz due Sunday.
Right.
Okay, got it.
So I tried to, I mean, maybe it's confusing. I tried to kind of make different due dates so everything wasn't due on the same date, so people didn't just wait till one date to make everything due. Going back to Pearson, just because in Pearson, I don't know if everybody has seen it this way, but in Pearson, when you go to all assignments, it lists them with the due dates, which is fine. But if you go to this little button here, it's a calendar view. And I always find that much easier to look at. You can see on the calendar when things are due, right? So on the calendar, today's the 18th. That's when tonight's homework is due. And then there's, on the 21st, which is Sunday, is when the quiz is due. So I always find that much easier to view on the calendar. And actually, I I usually will go in there, and that's how I'll check and make sure that things are set up correctly, because I can drag things around on the calendar. So I find that easier to see than a list, right? It's a little easier to keep straight in my head. So I just wanted to make sure you guys could see that or knew that that was an option.
So I'm still having a hard time
Sure.
getting the PowerPoints to upload without it being all symbols. And I know we talked about this before, but we have to have PowerPoint on the computer in order to do that. Is that what it was? Or Chrome?
PowerPoint.
Okay.
So you probably need to make sure that you have, so you all have access to Office 365
Okay.
through the college, and you might need to like download that onto your computer and then
Okay.
open the PowerPoints with that. So like if you're using a Chromebook or something, for instance, it probably wouldn't open correctly.
Okay. No, I'm not. It keeps trying to open to Notepad or something. It's really weird because I was like trying to figure out how I could open it to Word, but then I hadn't ran into that again. You know, and then I did these last couple. Is it the same as what's in our book though? I mean, I know that it's what we went
Yeah.
over, but okay.
Yep, it's the same.
Okay.
It's the same as what's in your book. It's just condensed, right? I don't put on everything from every chapter.
There's also, I've been watching on YouTube, if you just go Anatomy and Physiology, Chapter 4, Chapter 5.
Yep.
It's the Pearson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I
Yep.
thought that was really
Yep.
nice and easy and accessible. So
Yep, and the Pearson
helpful.
site itself, aside from just the homework,
Yeah.
Pearson site has a lot of helpful study tools on it. So over study area, you all have access to the study area.
Yeah, and it'll say by chapter or whatever.
Which
Yep.
has it, by the chapter, and it has practice tests and quizzes and animations and things like that. And the one of the things that I use a lot in another class I teach at Sacred Heart is this Practice Anatomy Lab, PAL. That has a lot of really cool stuff in it.
Oh,
You
nice.
launch that, you can go, you can see, you can do dissections like with a human cadaver. You can see models.
Oh,
You can
cool.
see
I didn't notice
histology.
that. Nice.
So yeah, there's all kinds of, really, really interesting things you can do. I mean, there's muscles of,
Yeah.
say, upper limb, and you can see, and you can quiz yourself on it and that kind of stuff, which is pretty cool.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check that out. Thank you. I never got that far on the list, I guess.
Yeah,
Any-
it's there's so much on there that it's overwhelming, right? There's so many things on this
Right.
site that it is a little overwhelming.
But whatever works for each person, so that's great.
Exactly.
Yep. All right.
What else? All right. Well then, let me know if you have questions. Email me with questions, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And everybody have a great weekend.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.
You too. Thank you.